American Tail.
Five Goes West.
Well, the first one was just an American Tail.
Right. I remember seeing Five Goes West in the theater.
Okay, we're live, guys.
I remember that too. This is all content. It's okay.
This is all content. We're talking
American Tail.
American Tail.
Spelled tail as in tail. As in the tail of an animal.
Spelled tail as in tail.
As in tail. Not to be confused with tail, of course.
Not to be confused with tail.
Welcome back to another edition of Splitting Hairs with Max, Nikki, and Nikon. As usual, I'm Max.
I'm Nikki.
And I am Nikon.
And together, we are Max, Nikki, and Nikon.
See, I intentionally really milked that but then I just threw myself off. So
you ruined the flow.
Well, you not only milked it, you left us in the lurch for a little bit. You're like, is he going to say and or not?
Yeah, and I did, and then I did it twice, and then I was
in
just
the lurch.
That's
not the right term for that.
Is that not the right expression? Left
no,
in the lurch?
That is the expression, but I don't think you used it correctly.
Did I not use that correctly?
I wasn't going to question it, but this is splitting hairs, so that's I don't know what I was thinking.
That's a kind of a interesting point. Do we use expressions as people in society often that don't mean the thing that we're talking about, but it sounds correct anyway? Does that happen pretty often?
Yeah, like out of politeness, or really, like you get the point. I mean, communication is about conveying a thought.
Right.
And if
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So in a way, Max, my use of that expression was correct.
Yeah. Well, only to the extent that you knew your audience, which if you knew Max, you would know that he was not going to let you get away with it. So.
But I know Nikon, and he was going to let it get away with it.
No, but here's the thing about it, though, Nikki. Considering this is splitting hairs, we have a whole corner devoted to grammar. Come on, you can't let that slide.
We got a couple in here, Gemma Leslie and Cammie. Gemma Leslie cooking dinner.
Oh, nice. Oh,
I know. Oh, yeah, it does sound like the grammar corner already, but we'll get to that in a second.
Gemma Leslie to Dean meant to know because she lives in
Canada. So Nikon, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's been a kind of
a long journey from Milan to Minsk. Rochelle.
It's been a rough couple of weeks, but it's okay.
Oh, really? I'm sorry to hear that.
Nothing crazy. Just I don't know. I can't really talk about some of it.
Trouble in Paradise?
Legally, no. Yeah.
I can't legally talk about it.
I mean, it just wouldn't be a good idea to. It's not a big deal, but yeah.
Nikon is in the middle of a smuggling of drugs from south of the border.
I am being indicted for trying to steal the 2020 election. I don't know. I've been following the news, but yeah.
For yourself?
Yes.
Max, what about you? How are you doing? I should know this. I'm right next to you. But...
actually pretty good. I'm it is quite hot out, but I'm enjoying the weather. I'm enjoying wearing a t-shirt and shorts. It's fun walking around. Been exploring more of Fort Greene recently, and I'm like, man, this is why I live in New York. It felt good. It's been feeling good to live in New York the past a couple weeks or something, I feel.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Nikki, how are you doing?
We don't care how you're doing, Nikki.
Nikki, why are you talking to yourself all upset?
Why have you been spending so much time in Fort Greene, Max?
Well, it just so happens. So we went and met up with a comedian in Fort Greene Park recently. I had never been there, actually.
Oh, man.
It's really nice.
I live like 2 blocks away from there. Yeah.
Very nice.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
And then we went to BAM yesterday to go see.
We went to see a movie yesterday.
And then we hung out in Fort Greene a little bit.
We saw the Barbie.
Barbie movie.
I would not have watched it.
I wouldn't have watched.
Friends were.
Yeah. You guys are so mainstream.
I know. I
love it.
No,
do you want to hear my thoughts?
Wait, hold on. Let me just say, to be honest, I really didn't have a desire to watch the movie, but we wouldn't have been able to see our friend for a while because we're going out of town, and we just thought, all right, I'm down to hang. I'm basically paying to hang out with a group of people, basically.
Yeah.
So, I was fine with that.
But we also watched another movie a couple nights before, Past Lives.
Oh, it's
And
supposed to be great.
I think
It's
it's
really
the best
good.
movie of the year so far. It's so good. I keep thinking about it too. I mean, it's just I don't want to keep overhyping it, but it just
You should definitely watch
you
it.
should
Nico.
definitely see
Oh,
it.
I
It's,
plan
it's
to.
so well done.
Yeah.
The Barbie movie cannot say the same for that.
Oh, really? You guys, you're just being contrarian. Well, first of all,
No.
I mean, there
First
are
of all.
so many flaws in it. Sorry, go on.
how are you doing, Nikki?
Well, now I'm not doing that great because nobody asked me. and so
We're
I had
asking
to-
you now.
I'm doing okay. I'm a little not stressed, but I'm very busy because we're gonna be. Oh, that's a thing we should mention, Max. The first single from our new EP for our band Silhouette City is coming out
Is
this
dropping.
Tuesday. This Tuesday on August 1st at midnight, wherever you live. It's called Oh Allison, and so we've been really busy with all the promotional things that we're going to be doing for it.
That's awesome.
And so you guys can listen anywhere you listen to music: Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, Tidal if you use Tidal.
And I will be distributing it on Napster for anybody interested in that. So
Hey,
Hey, if it gets the music,
if it gets
out
the music out there, I'm down.
there. So that's exciting. And you can pre-order the whole EP now on Bandcamp and on
Oh,
iTunes.
nice.
If you're interested in doing that. If you pre-order on August 1st, you will obviously get to listen. You'll receive the first single, Oh Allison,
of course.
already. So yeah, we're pretty excited about that, but also busy with the promoting. or
Wait,
busy
so
with the promotion of it.
what is the Bandcamp?
The Bandcamp is silhouettecity.bandcamp.com.
That's correct.
Or if you go to silhouettecityband.com, you'll be able to find all the appropriate links. Yeah. And or just follow us on Instagram at Silhouette City Band. There you go. So yeah, that's gonna
There
be.
you are on Bandcamp. You weren't
And
lying.
And
Oh,
that's
wow. Look at this cover art. I like it.
thank
thanks.
you.
Yeah,
Yes,
we took some photos.
we were-
with the.
this-
It's a long exposure kind of a thing with that.
Yeah, that's cool.
We also got some headshots done recently from that guy.
Nice. That guy.
The guy who took that photo.
Guy. What's his name? Put his
That
name
guy.
out.
His
in
name's
a
Tom
little coat.
Tom Armstrong. Photo credit by Tom Armstrong.
Nice.
That
Excellent.
guy in a little coat. That guy in a little coat. That guy in a little coat. It's a fat guy in a little coat.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Don't explain it.
Well, some people don't know Tommy Boy. I don't think.
Well, it's for the people who do.
I know. That's the whole point. You don't ever explain a joke.
Ever.
that was one of the problems
Unless
with
it's
the bar.
part of the joke.
That was one of the problems with the
Right, unless it's part of the joke.
Barbie movie. How many times they over-explained the joke.
I want to
Anyway.
go in fresh, guys. Come on.
Are you going to watch it?
Of course. It's you got to know what people are talking about.
Are you interested in seeing Oppenheimer?
Yeah, of course.
Not me.
Really?
I don't have any desire to
I
see
don't
that.
Why
really
not?
care.
I don't really care for
Christopher
Christopher Nolan for
actually.
one, but
Oh, okay. Well, if you don't like Nolan, then yeah, there's very little reason.
I've only liked one Christopher Nolan movie, and it was Memento, and that's it.
All right.
Well, I don't like
No,
Inception.
That's allowed.
I notoriously hate Inception.
Oh,
I
okay.
notoriously hate it. How is it notorious that you hate it?
Everybody knows me for hating
Yeah,
Inception.
exactly. I didn't like.
It's my big claim to
Interstellar.
fame.
I actually saw Interstellar with your sister, Kata Yoon.
Oh, nice.
I did not like that.
Oh, wow.
He did not like watching it with her. Is what he's
Yeah.
saying.
I saw it
Yeah,
with,
she was
Kata
just
Yoon and Sarah and Burrito.
intolerable. All right. Well,
Anyway, but I guess that's the station business. Max, did you want to do the theme song for station?
No, wait,
business?
hold on.
a retro, a tail slate on the
Oh, man,
station business.
dude.
Hey, it's okay. We'll
We
cut it. We'll
started
fix
station
the
business so
post.
early. I forgot what I was going to say right before station business. Damn it. Oh,
Was
that's
it
what I meant.
station
Okay, station business. Station business. Okay, so here's one piece of station business that we did not mention yet. Nikki and I are going to be going to Los Angeles
on Tuesday. Actually,
on Tuesday
we'll be there for
through
a
the
couple
18th,
weeks.
and we're going to be doing a few shows while we're in Los Angeles. So if you are in the Los Angeles area, You can go to our Instagram at Max and Nikki, and there is a post that lists all the shows that we're going to be on.
Yeah, but just real quick, Dynasty Typewriter on Saturday, this coming Saturday, August 5th. UCB Franklin on Monday, Tuesday, August 8th, right?
And that's our older brothers co-hosts that show. It's called Tasting Menu.
And then we'll be doing, Jetpack Comedy on the following Friday. On that Saturday, Good Heroin, and then
You could just go to
anyway,
Max and Nikki
go
and
check
you're
it
gonna
out.
see the
But
list.
there should be some fun shows for sure.
And
obviously, as we said before, we've got the new single coming out, "Oh Allison," on Tuesday, August 1st.
And
For those of you tuning in, yeah.
following our stay in Los Angeles, we'll be in
For those of you tuning in, this is the Splitting Hairs Nicky and Nikon podcast.
Following our stay in Los Angeles, we'll be in Chicago briefly, and we'll be doing a show at the Lincoln Lodge on Sunday, the 20th of August.
First time in Chicago for us.
It'll be Sloppy Sundays. That's the name of the show.
Love it.
Any station business for you, Nikon?
Now let's get into some content.
Well, okay. Well, real quick, Grammar Corner.
That's content.
Grammar Corner. Any problems?
Hey,
with
Grammar?
I have something to say.
I had something and I was convinced I was not going to forget it, so I didn't write it down. Oh my god,
you can't
You
do
can't
that.
convince
You have
yourself
to
to
write
know.
those things
It
down.
was just okay. Go ahead.
Well, this isn't a grammar thing. It's just more a phrase that I don't like people using.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like when people say now more than ever.
Okay.
It's like you're trying to make yourself sound more eloquent. I'm like, you don't need to make it.
I
Like trying to be.
wholeheartedly disagree with you. First of all,
It
I don't
depends.
think
As
anybody's.
with everything, it depends on the context. If you're,
I guess
talking
you're
about,
right.
like,
I guess it's the
like
context.
A
But
presidential
oftentimes
speech, when you're talking about times and now more than ever, we're in a state of blah blah blah. I don't know. I think it's.
I also don't think people are trying to sound more eloquent.
Yes,
by
they
using
are.
that
Yes, they
expression.
are. I
don't
disagree with
no.
that. Yes, they are.
I disagree with you.
I disagree with you.
Well, clearly, if one of you disagrees with the other, then one would assume that the reverse is true, right? Anyway,
Well, it's a funny thing if you go
No,
like
of
Nikki say
course.
you disagree with me.
I disagree.
Yeah,
I
it's
disagree.
like, well,
I agree. I agree.
we do that sometimes where I'm like, that's a funny thing that we do.
I mean, what's wrong with trying to sound eloquent?
Well, it's just I have
Like,
a problem
don't-
with
don't
somebody
you want-
trying to sound eloquent than actually being eloquent.
Don't you want to live in a world where, like, there's more interesting, I don't know, sentences
That's not what I'm saying.
floating
I'm
about?
saying it's
Now more than ever, don't you want to live in a world?
see
Or there's more.
that's an example. That's an example.
I was joking.
No. But what I'm saying
I
is,
liked it though. I liked the way it sounded and everything.
Sounded eloquent, right?
No.
Perfectly eloquent too. I wouldn't even say it was too eloquent.
Right. It was perfectly eloquent.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is it's the same way I feel about essentially or even the way people use literally sometimes now.
Oh,
They'll
when
try
they
and
misuse
use it
yeah.
as a way to they're trying to elevate their language, their phraseology, but it's not really doing much for the statement.
Wrong. I do think
feel.
that is happening with the word literally. I don't like that, but with the word essentially, that's not happening.
Incorrectamundo.
Maybe you are stuck in conversations, Max, with people who are just ineloquent.
Nikki, you mean?
But Gemma Leslie says, now more than ever, I disagree with Max. And I don't know if that's a joke or if you actually disagree with Max, but I agree with Gemma Leslie that I disagree with Max.
I don't know
more
But
than ever.
I think we
agree
just
with
touched on something. Like, what if it is Nikki who is using these phrases? That
I do not
Max
use the
is
word
just
literally,
like,
okay? By the way.
whenever
he doesn't-
people do this, it just bugs the hell out of me. And Nikki's just like, I think it's perfectly used all the time.
Okay, well, we could talk
He
about the
says
stuff that Max
essentially-
does that bothers me.
He says
How
essentially
about
a
that?
lot. He does say essentially, and he's noted it himself actually recently.
Oh, something that our older
Right.
brother does a lot that we find is pretty excessive is he uses the word interesting too much. He says
Too much.
it's interesting that he says interesting a lot, and it's made me notice it, and so I I try
Because
to
we do
use
it
the word.
too.
I
We
try
do
to
it
use the
too.
word interesting as little as possible now.
Well,
Okay.
I guess when you say the word interesting, it's very interesting. It's not really saying much. About
No,
what
but
you're
it's
talking
like it's
It's
like
an empty word. in
I
a way.
hear that you've said something, and okay, I am acknowledging it.
No,
As
I
opposed to, like,
I
stroking
agree
my
with you
beard.
there.
Yes, I agree there. But yes.
I could just
Man,
stroke
Nick-
my beard, but that's not good audio content. Unless I
It's
do it
good
really
visual
close.
Wait, go up
though.
close to it. and
Oh, I
stroke.
just noticed
Wait,
that
let him-
you don't
wait, hold
have
on,
the
Nikki.
mustache anymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that was last week. I kind of I was just doing my weekly shave. Over like cleaned up this side of the mustache, and then I had to balance it out on this side, and then that was just way too far, and I had to scrap the whole thing. So now I'm
Man,
You
So
know
now
what?
I'm
You
starting
should,
from
you
scratch.
should have just had half
Yeah.
a mustache. That would have been a kind of a interesting
it
look.
was just
Interesting look, as they say.
well,
It
you know what's
was-
funny.
didn't somebody
I was looking back at an
like,
old episode of
a
Splitting
comic
Hairs.
have a half a mustache for a while, or still does?
I
maybe?
think you're right about that. I can't remember who it was, but you're right.
Yeah. Anyway, what were we saying, Max?
I was looking
Previous-
about an older episode of Splitting Hairs where you didn't have facial hair, and I just thought, "Whoa, Nikon looks weird." Like it was. It's been so long. I'm like,
I know.
I didn't. It wasn't used to it. It was interesting.
Yeah.
It was
Very
interesting. So I
interesting.
just did it. I just did it.
Interesting indeed.
We had some friend. I had a
Now
friend
more than
yesterday that said, "Nikki, I think you should grow out your facial hair, like really have a beard." And then another friend was like, "No, I disagree. I think you'll lose that young look, and that's going to really change your appearance. And I think you guys, when you're on stage, kind of having that youthful appearance really helps on stage. At least that's
I
what
guess.
You should
Not like
try
it.
it. You should try it.
Well, I don't want to grow. For Max's musical 10 years ago, I grew out a goatee.
Oh, you did?
He played the devil.
I played the devil,
Ah, that makes sense.
and man, it's itchy. I don't know how.
Well, once you get there's a certain point that everybody had, like a breaking point, and then maybe it's like a week of itchiness, and then you get past it. Usually,
I don't know. I had the thing for a while. It was a month-long run, and I didn't like it actually. And then I found myself like touching my tongue to it a lot.
yeah. Well, that's a you thing. It's not the mustache's fault.
That's a you thing.
That's not the mustache's fault.
Anyway, let's get into it, guys.
Man, I'm really annoyed that I didn't write down that grammar thing, and it's
Me
like it's a
too.
common one, and it's
been
Anyway.
bothering you.
yeah.
Maybe you'll think of
clearly
it,
not that much.
Maybe one of us will use it later on in the.
To this crowd, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I do want to say, because I always save this for the end of the episode, but I think it's important to do it up top. If you like what you hear and see today, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/@splittinghairs-podcast, or follow us on Instagram @splittinghairs-podcast, or please rate and review us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
Apple, what have yous?
SoundCloud, whatever.
Yep.
Go
Do
a
it.
long way.
Do it.
So what are we thinking, guys, for topics?
Let's see. Should I go to the notes?
I should have wrote this down, but there was a topic we had.
I should have
mentioned.
wrote this down, or I should have written this down.
I should have written this.
Oh,
down.
and that was the thing that was bothering me. No, it wasn't. Let's see. What should
there's
you
something
have
we
written?
talked about. There's something we mentioned in the last episode, and now I can't remember what it was, but it was a great idea for a topic.
Last
Horoscopes, best way to die. Are you the same person as you were 10 years ago, whatever, 20 years ago, 100 years ago?
Oh, that was the one that we had mentioned in
Do we
the
believe
episode.
in ghosts? Do we believe in fate / destiny? I don't know.
I like
Anything
a lot of
jumping
these.
out at anybody? Yeah, but like anything.
We
anything
could
jumping out right now.
revisit the whole musical theater topic that we did in one of the very first episodes of Splitting Hairs.
But, without me.
Without
Yeah,
you,
this was like
this was in
2007.
2007.
What was it?
It was just a grander theme on musical theater, and when people say they don't like musical theater, what's
Oh.
wrong with that kind of a statement?
I could do this.
But the problems we have with current musical theater. You know why people say they don't like musical theater, and anyway, so there's.
I would love this just for my own selfish reasons, because I'm working on a musical, and I'm a person who is working on a musical who has a very shallow. I don't know. I've seen very little musical theater, and so I would like to just learn from you guys.
Well, sure, that's fun.
By way
I'm
of
always happy to
moderator.
talk about musical theater. The first thing I would say to you, Nikon, is go watch more musical theater. Obviously,
Well,
that's
I don't
like
know.
a big-
I mean, yes, but I don't want to.
I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that. No, I mean, you're right.
That'd be fun if you were writing a musical, but you didn't like musicals.
I mean, it's interesting because I don't love. It's not like my favorite medium. I don't think.
Medium of entertainment. Well,
It's maybe my favorite
when it's done
when it's done well. It's like my
Sure,
favorite
when it's
medium
done
as
well, yeah, of course,
but there's a lot that goes into it to make it a good show.
of course. Well,
So is this
but the
something
question is,
that
how would we split hairs in a splitting hairs 2.0 kind of way where there's an argument?
okay? Well,
or maybe we don't
one person. Maybe we don't. We could just talk about it. I mean, one person could just take the side of, I don't like musical theater.
I
Let me
don't
explain why.
I don't
but-
even want to do that because
I don't think anybody's
this
going
is
to do a good job at it.
Yeah, this is so near
I
and
know.
dear to
It's
me
like
that
taking
I
the
just
side
would
of the
feel...
Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
This is, by the way, the Knock Rolling Stones and John Mulaney podcast.
You mean, can't you hear me knocking on the Rolling Stones? That's what the podcast is called. Can't you hear me knocking on the Rolling Stones? Huh, guys? That's pretty
Yeah,
good,
we got
right?
it. It's just, I don't know.
Come on.
Just because you tried something doesn't mean we have to laugh at it.
Can't you hear me knocking on the Rolling Stones?
We
That's the name of the
got it.
podcast.
We got it.
But I'm just adding a little Barbie action.
It's a little knocking. Can't you hear me knocking on the Barbie movie? Actually, more like it.
So is this the topic we want to do, or what? I don't know.
Is this the topic that you guys want to do? I'm asking. Any of those other topics prior to mentioning musical theater? Did that?
Let's
stand out
do
to you?
musical theater. We're already like flirting with it. Let's just do it.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Nikon,
what's the format?
let's start with you. Well, the format, I guess, would be, we'll first talk about,
Why don't?
okay,
Here, how
from
about
the
this?
standpoint of, hey, somebody says, I don't like musical theater. And so you, as the listener or the opposing side, you're explaining, we're all explaining why that person is wrong to say that they don't like a whole genre of entertainment.
Or why don't we start with, since we know where you guys stand, why don't we start with what sucks about musical theater?
Okay. Well,
Let's
I'd
start
like to
with
start
that.
with
Let's
the
start with-
positive. I think it's good to start with the positives. Right?
Well, I'm the moderator, so
Wait,
Why are you the moderator? There's no
because I don't know
moderator
anything
here,
about
is
musical theater. You guys are like I'm treating
Uh-oh.
this like
Uh-oh. Nikon, you're kind of...
there? Uh-oh. Oh, shoot. What happened here?
Hold
Uh-oh.
on, something's happening.
Something's happening. Wait, hold on, Nikon. Something happened. There was... Max, I think there's something on your end, actually.
Me?
I mean, it's back now, but let me see. Sorry, you had frozen, Nikon.
okay. I
Wait,
haven't said
hold on.
anything.
I'm just
In a
looking
while.
at this right now. Gemma Leslie...
I mean, everything's okay on Max. Why don't you move on Zoom real quick?
What? Move on Zoom?
Nikon, can you move on Zoom or just move?
Can I move? Yeah.
Oh man, you bet.
Oh, Nikon, you're a bit...
There must be something wrong with our internet connection.
You're coming in
No, I
smooth
mean, it's
for
okay
me,
now.
guys. There's no problem on my end. There's been no lag or anything. Like I know you guys are kind of like
It must be
Okay,
your audio is
I think it's fine
completely
now.
completely in real time. Just so
well.
you know.
All right, let's just keep going.
Hold on, it's just a brief aside here. Gemma Leslie had just said that she works at a professional musical theater company.
and she loves it. And and their partner hates musical theater and has
Well,
given
it
it
doesn't
a fair
say
enough.
hate, just not like.
Anyway, all right, let's get into it. I think everything's okay now.
It's an interesting thought.
So, yeah, who says you're a moderator? That's not the format for today, is it? Or is it?
I mean, I got nothing to contribute, so okay, fine. Why
Yes,
don't
you
I start
do.
with why
What do you
musical?
mean? Yes, you
theater-
do. You're a person, right? Who is writing a musical, apparently. So
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I'm just confused. Okay. Sure. All right. Go ahead. Just start saying stuff.
well,
Imagine if a moderator was like that. All right, just start saying.
I mean,
it's
well, I'm
done
not the
well-
moderator, so just start saying
when
stuff.
it's done well, musical theater can be the most exciting and entertaining form of entertainment. It's got everything. It's got music, good music. A good musical will have good music, good choreography and dancing, good acting, good orchestrations, good production design,
stage design, lighting design.
It'll have everything that you want in a show. And when you go see it live, there's nothing like the energy in that theater.
There's the and you get it vitality and what's the
Je ne sais quoi.
no, that's not what I'm looking. The immediacy of of being in a live situation, and it feels thrilling.
And the probably our favorite theater going experience.
It's a feast for the senses.
Probably our favorite theater going experience was going to see Hello Dolly a few years ago. It's not my favorite musical of all time. I do like it. I think the music is great in it. But the experience, the energy in the theater was palpable. It was, you could really feel it. The audience was roaring for the cast members when Bernadette Peters was in it, and that was a treat to go see her on the New York Broadway stage. But when she just first entered, she had such a long ovation. It was a real pause from the actual show to just hear all the claps and
anyway.
Woos
You get everything in one show. That's what opera means, by the way.
Well, you don't get everything. You
What
don't get
you
everything. You have a very specific aesthetic that is, anything but realistic and anything.
That's not
but
true.
There's
I think it can be very realistic. It's just
there's nothing realistic about people breaking into song and dance.
Okay, that's a problem I have.
So that's not always true with musicals. For instance, in Cabaret, the music it's a part of the show. So it takes place at a cabaret.
Cabaret is a very specific example, but
even in,
but I'm saying
90% of
even
theater.
even in The Sound of Music. I mean, sure, some they part of the time they, and I hate the term, quote unquote, break into song, but there are
why do you hate that term? Why do you hate that term?
It's very rare.
It's not like they just automatically start singing. There's a transition
it's kind of prepared.
Singing,
It's prepared.
Sure, but you're having an emotional reaction to my saying that it is not realistic the way you might see in a dramatic film, for example. Sure. And it's all I'm saying is that is one thing that is missing from musical theater.
Well, here's the thing that's not
a
missing.
Lack of reality, or
it's not for every it's just
in The Sound of Music,
that you can't acknowledge that certain people have different tastes. Not everybody has a taste for something that truly I don't know is so showy, so much.
Can I
it clearly speaks to your guys' taste, but it doesn't speak to. It's not like a universal. I mean, clearly, otherwise.
Well, I know, but we're just trying to say what we think is the positive aspect of this form.
Sure, yeah, and we're having a conversation. So I'm saying when you say it has everything, I'm saying it doesn't have everything. That's all I'm saying.
Can I counter that?
I know,
actually?
but I don't know
because it can have those. What I mean by it has everything is generally people like music, right? Yeah. You like listening to music. I can't find somebody most of the time who doesn't like music.
Sure. But not everybody likes narrative tied to music. And that's what we're talking about.
Yes, that's true. But I will say musical theater doesn't necessarily need to there are moments when it is just dialogue. You know what I mean? So it
Right.
includes those moments that can be dramatic without the song as well.
But people do like music that has some sort of meaning. It came from a place in the songwriter's
Are we not
life,
trying
maybe.
to have a better understanding of why people
Yes,
criticize
but
musical theater, or are we just trying to blindly defend it?
Sure, no,
Okay.
you're right, Nikon.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually just critiquing what you're saying though about the narrative thing, because sometimes regular songs, you know, that you hear on the radio, there's a story in the lyrics, or they're
Sure.
actually they're singing as a character, so to speak.
Hold on.
Oh,
I lost Zoom.
we have to start a new Zoom.
Hold on, I gotta get my audio.
Okay.
Oh, we were just getting into it.
I know, we were just getting into it. This was turning out to be a very heated conversation. Max, are you starting a new one?
I'm starting a new one.
Yes.
Don't
Leslie
say
is-
anything.
Leslie is, yeah, okay. I won't even read the comments, because that's a good point.
Oh my gosh.
What?
What?
Man, Zoom is really trying to get you now.
Oh
Well,
no!
it's saying we have to wait 9 minutes before starting a new
All right,
meeting.
I'll
you
start.
serious?
I'll start the meeting,
Yeah,
man.
you start.
Oh wow! I mean, that's you gotta give it to him. That's smart, actually.
Annoying.
Right, because people are probably doing that a lot.
Yeah, they're probably doing exactly what we're doing. Yeah. Touche, Zoom. Always 2 steps ahead of us.
Always two Shay. Step ahead.
I don't know.
I should have zoomed that. Should have waited.
Oh man, yeah. I wish we did have a musical number ready for it.
All right, let's see. New meeting.
What was? Oh yeah.
Okay. Copy invite link. I'm taking you every step of the way, guys. And reply all. And the new link has been sent.
All right.
Come on. I don't see it yet.
It's,
You guys got Nikon? You get it?
I got it. Just received it.
Here we go. Just received it. Why's my internet going kind of slow? All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Wait, hold on, Nikki. Do you have to?
Sorry, folks on stream. All right, I'm gonna record, guys.
All right.
Are you recording the Zoom?
I'm gonna do that.
Got it.
Got it.
Got it.
Okay.
Let's see what a blurred background looks like.
Okay.
Eh.
Oh, blurring your background, huh? Okay. Maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah.
All right, we're back. What were we saying?
And we are back.
Can I? Well, I was going to agree. Yes, Nikon, I understand what you're saying. Some people may not like song. They may not like something that's interpolated. Is that the right word?
Well, wait.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Time out, Max.
Emotional interpolation.
Click mute on your Zoom.
And actually,
Go ahead.
Well, in any event, they don't like. I can understand somebody not liking the idea of something that is some emotion expressed within the narrative, or a narrative that is told through mute song. They just want one or the. They just want, okay, if you're gonna hear music, let me just see a concert of music. If you want just, drama, I want to just see that more or less portrayed in a more naturalistic way, I guess.
yeah.
But to say you don't like musical theater must mean that you probably don't like opera either, I guess.
Well, I don't.
Those are totally different.
They're different in a way, because I don't like a lot of opera.
No,
because
but no, for the reason that you're saying though is that
No, because like a lot of, I mean, you know, I don't know. I can't speak for all opera goers, but a significant. Okay, this is like based off of, you know, very little depth of knowledge there, but like opera is a music first form where it is like the, I don't know, I don't know how I'm trying to explain this, but it's like, whereas musical theater is more like a play that has a lot of songs in it, and I know that's not like putting in the like the most whatever optimal light. Opera feels like it's more of, it's like you're going to the symphony, except there happens to be stuff to look at.
Okay, but what if you're looking? Let's take Jesus Christ Superstar for example, where it's sung all the way through. There's no dialogue actually. You know, it's
Yeah.
that's more of a rock opera as they call it, right? So, but people call it a musical because it pretty much is, right? It's
Right.
pop music, well, of the time, you know, in a play setting, I guess you could say.
Well,
Right. So sure, yeah. I mean, look, you're gonna have an example.
We're splitting hairs, back.
You're gonna have a retort, but this isn't splitting hair. Like, what I'm trying to understand is like the ins and outs of the pros and cons. Like, what is beautiful about musical theater, and what are the critiques of it?
Yeah.
And if for every critique you're like, well, in this specific instance, that critique isn't correct, then we're not really like landing on.
Sure. You were right to say. You're right to say that it isn't realistic to sing part of.
But that's okay. That's just another.
Of course it's okay.
Expression.
Of course it's okay. I'm just trying to.
But no. I get you were arguing that it doesn't
like...
have everything. When we said it has everything, you're arguing that it doesn't have everything in that. It doesn't have that form of realism.
Yeah. Like if you're
but
not,
then you could say that. You could say that about any.
You say that about any movie.
You could say that about theater. It's
of course
it's not real because it's on.
Of course,
a
I guess.
Or a movie has got film techniques that make it not realistic in a way.
Of course.
I mean,
a Marvel movie has action that is definitely not real. You know.
Yeah.
Depending on the genre, you know. There are things that are not. So it's
but
not.
I understand the point though that some people may just not be into that idea.
It doesn't suit
expressing
everybody's sensibilities to for emotions to be expressed through song versus through dialogue or subtext.
Sure, but not to use this word. It doesn't. When you say it has everything, I'm saying it includes all forms of all different types, all kind of forms of performative art in one. And yes, by virtue of it including all those things, it's going to, of course, have an absence of something, which is something that only has one thing. But what I mean by that's where opera comes from, actually. The word opera means the works, actually. And in fact, when you hear, like in classical music, you hear opus number 1. That's singular for opera.
It's work
number one. Opera is the works.
Right. Nice, cool.
But so yes, I'd say, and as Gemma Leslie is pointing out, why does it need to be realistic? It doesn't, you know.
No, of course.
So I think though ultimately the reason why people might say they don't like musicals is because they're not introduced to the right ones, especially in the modern day, because I feel that musical theater in the last maybe 25 to 30 years has taken a turn for the worse.
Oh, really?
In the sense that it's
not always.
The genre changed, actually.
Yeah.
The style of music that's in the genre is less.
Over the last how many years, you said?
25 to 30 years.
Okay.
It's changed in a sense that a lot of musical theater now, the music contains basically derivative pop music.
Right.
Instead of music that is uniquely.
Was Mamma Mia the turning point?
I would say actually Rent is the turning point.
Even though it doesn't actually use,
Well, it does. I mean, it has, even though there's a couple good songs in Rent,
Yeah.
the song Seasons of Love, for example,
Sure.
that's something that song you could hear an artist, like a pop artist, do that song,
Sure.
and it would make sense for them to do it,
Right.
And whereas before, something like
So would you say Rent overrated?
I mean, I know this probably is going to
Offend
offend some people. Yes, definitely.
Well, anybody who would be offended by an opinion on a piece of art is a silly person to begin with. But go ahead.
I do think Rent is overrated.
Well, then I guess I'm silly then.
in a lot of
Well, you are silly, Max. That's a good
in a
thing,
lot of
too.
ways, I think it's cheesy. Even though some of the music is good in it, but
Sure.
but if you take like a song from Phantom of the Opera,
Sure.
like Music of the Night, that is specifically of a musical theater genre. That is,
Yeah.
it's not. It
Well-
sounds like musical theater.
Well, yeah, I think what Nikki's saying is the aesthetic of the type of music, which has changed even prior to this kind of embrace of more pop-oriented music.
Yeah.
There is something that is tied to a certain. I hate using this word, but there is a sense of classicism, a sense of like high art feeling to it.
in the obviously
past.
the classic ones. Yeah.
In the past. So
Yeah.
there's a certain I mean, a lot of the songs that were from musical theater actually are in what's called the Great American Songbook now.
Oh,
But even
right.
that kind of had a
Well, but
Actually, I don't know.
now that I'm thinking about it, I guess
That was the
musical
pop
theater,
music back then,
musical
too,
theater
actually.
has always
Sure.
kind of contained music that was sort of influenced by the pop music at the time. Even
I guess we're just
older,
saying pop music has started to suck. Which is not a
guess
hot
that-
take.
I guess that's pretty much it. Because like Guys and Dolls is influenced by kind of jazz
Guys
music.
and dolls, we're just a bunch of crazy guys and dolls. Da, 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 da. Most, yeah.
Or like Cole Porter musicals,
Sure,
he wrote popular songs of the time anyway,
Right.
So
Here's
I guess what it is.
I know it's impossible, but like what are the 3 to 5 must-see musical theater? Like if an alien just landed on Earth and you're like, the most important thing for you to do right now is to go see the best musical theater America has to offer, what are the 3 to 5 that you
I
guys...
would say that, and this is not just what America has to offer, but I would
For
say
sure,
Phantom of the Opera, because it just closed recently on Broadway,
Yeah.
but it was the longest running musical on Broadway of all time.
Yeah.
And so there's something to be said about that,
Sure.
why it had sustained popularity for all those years.
Yeah.
So I would say that. I would say watch a Sondheim musical,
Sure.
whatever it may be.
Maybe
I
go
would
Sweeney Todd,
personally,
I would say.
probably, for me, I would say go see Company. That's my third favorite
Yeah, but I
musical of
can-
all time.
I can
But-
see
Oh.
that not being for everybody.
But that musical actually, Company, was the first of its kind. It was considered kind of the first adult-themed musical, and it does have more of a realism to it. It's about adult themes. There's nothing fantastical about the show, and for people that might think that musicals are cheesy, I would say go watch that musical, because that musical is, I don't think really you can derive cheesiness from it.
Here's
I
the
disagree.
thing. I don't think people. I mean, okay, I'm not speaking for just like the idiot off the street who's like, "Oh, musicals are cheesy." I'm saying like there is like, regardless. I like musicals, okay, but it's like you have to admit that there is, and cheesy for lack of a better word, there is a certain level of, let's just say cheesy because I can't think of a better word, that comes with a person expressing themselves through music, whether like for better or for worse. Maybe it's a vulnerability that people aren't like open to receiving. Maybe it's that. Right.
That's a good. I like that description. It's a vulnerability that people are not.
That's a
open
great
to
way to
accept.
explain it.
Yeah.
Kukan. I will say that I do think there are a lot of musicals that can be cheesy and are cheesy.
Of course, there are a lot of everything,
and
movies, whatever,
And
emo songs.
It is really about how it's performed and done. And if
Sure.
and that's the thing about Company is that it's not, even the acting is not over the top. That because there are certain musicals where you might see the acting portion of the show kind of be over the top.
Right.
So Company, but actually go see any Sondheim musical. I mean, Max said Sweeney Todd.
Of course.
Gemma Leslie said Into the Woods. Actually, the last show I did in college was Into the Woods. I played the wolf and one of the princes, and it's a fun show. It's a good show. I would say so. Phantom of the Opera, a Sondheim musical. Some people might even say Sunday in the Park with George. And I would say go see a classic musical like West Side Story or The Sound of Music.
What are your number
Rodgers
two
and
and number
Hammerstein?
one? What are your number two and?
Well, my favorite musical, and I know it sounds cliche, is Phantom of the Opera. My second favorite is a musical called The Fantastics. It's the longest running show in the world of all time, actually, regardless of whether or not it's a musical or play. And it premiered in 1960 on Off-Broadway, and it ran all the way till 2001, and it closed very briefly on Off-Broadway, and it reopened just a little bit later, and then it ran all the way to 2017 when it closed again. But it's actually an inspiring musical because it shows how you don't need that to put that much money into a show and to still have a good show. I think something like the original cost for The Fantastics in 1960 was something like $500 to put on a production, and
which works out to be $5 million now. I'm just,
but if you were to convert that to today's monetary value, it still wouldn't be that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, and even though that's my second, and Company is actually my third favorite, but I would say though that the most important ones to see would probably be Phantom of the Opera, a Sondheim musical, and maybe a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical like The Sound of Music, or a Leonard Bernstein musical like West Side Story.
Max, what are your top three?
Yeah, West Side Story, I think, is very important to see. I think it's not just important for musical theater, but I actually think it's important for, if you are a classical music in the most general sense of the term. Yeah. What I like about that musical is it really is a marriage between, again, I hate using this word, but I can't think of a better thing. I'm inarticulate, I guess, but a marriage between high art music and popular music. It's this marriage that he found the milieu between the two, and it inspires me a lot because I was a music major, and it's like, how can I reconcile this music that I've learned in my education with music that I really just love listening to? And he found that way, and that's inspiring,
But that's not the only reason it's important.
I know.
The choreography.
There's only one reason it can be important.
The choreography in the original production was groundbreaking, and it's choreography that's still used for productions today.
Well, it was groundbreaking. It was groundbreaking at the time because it required the actors to be able to act, sing, and dance. That was something that having that triple threat kind of thing was not really a thing actually at that time. Even though they all did seem to know, everyone seemed to know how to dance back then.
I mean, a lot of them knew how to tap dance even before. I mean, you watch a Fred Astaire movie, he sings and tap dances and.
Well, that's the thing about it is the songs in that musical are a little more difficult to have to pull off than what Fred Astaire normally had to pull off in his movies. That's why it really required them to really sing. Like they need to have the technique actually.
Right.
And yeah, again, Nikki said this any Sondheim musical, because Sondheim is, you can't think of musical theater without thinking about Sondheim. But I would actually say Sweeney Todd is the most. I would say it's the. I think somebody who doesn't know musical theater, it would draw them in the most. I think it's the most.
It's the darkest.
Palatable, I guess. Like, is that the right word to use?
I don't agree with that. I think Company might be the most.
That's not true. That's for adults, as you said. I think for anybody that's going to see musical.
I guess Sweeney Todd is for adults too. I mean, it's really dark. there's a lot of death in it, and
Sure, but there's fun. It's fun though.
It's such a cartoony,
Uh-oh.
yeah, it's such a cartoony premise,
What's
you know.
happening
So it's like,
on my end.
Yeah, hold on. Damn.
What, Sweeney Todd? Sorry, you went away for a second, Nikon. Say that again. What you last said? Nikon.
no, I was just responding to what you guys were saying about Sweeney Todd. I'm saying I don't think it's adult because it's such a silly premise to begin with, and in a fun way.
It's
You know.
fun, yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
but
It's a dark
if-
comedy.
Would you show that?
Like,
to
yes,
a
people
kid?
die, but like, who cares? people die in life.
But I don't want to make this all about our opinions. I mean, what about you, Nikon?
Well,
like,
I didn't have my.
I know
third
you
one,
were
Nikki.
wanting to, quote unquote, learn from this, maybe, but why do you like musical? Why are you writing a musical, and why? Do
It's
you
actually
like it?
interesting. The reason, so I've been I was trying to crack this story for the longest time, and I found myself. So the premise is it's this young Fox News fanboy who's just graduated from Liberty University, which is a fake college, even though it's a real college in real life. And he's interviewing for the Page program at Fox News, and he's like obsessed with the truth, yada yada yada. And it's about his journey through. So he basically gets relegated to working at the fact checking department at Fox News, which I assume doesn't actually exist, but it's basically like a satirical take on Fox News and the way it's operating. And I just found that all the points that I was trying to make were like in like a standard, whatever filmic narrative, were just too. I felt like I was too on the nose with like the points that I was trying to make, and so I kind of had this epiphany that one of the strengths of musicals is that you can be very expressive and you can what's it called? You can what's the word? Whatever. You can like reveal story points and like motives and all that kind of stuff through song, and it kind of like opened up the story for me. And so that was like the impetus.
That's cool. Yeah.
Because I don't have like I don't have a composition background or anything like that. So it's been an uphill journey, but it's been satisfying because I'm like learning a new way of telling stories.
Have you been writing the music already, or just coming up with the stories so far?
I've written, how many songs do I have? I've written the lyrics for, I want to say maybe 8 songs by now.
Wow, that's amazing! And you wrote the lyrics for them.
Yeah, so wrote the lyrics, and I'm like fiddling on my keyboard, which, I mean, again, I'm not like, I think the hardest part for me is like landing on a melody, because like I have the lyrics down and I'm not like writing melody and lyrics at the same time. And so when it's time to like add that layer on, I just get paralyzed by how many different directions you can go in. Like I'm never satisfied with any single direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's again using the word interesting. That's an interesting approach, and some people do that. They start with the lyrics. When I write music, I almost always start with the melody first.
Yeah, and I think that's because you have more of a musical background than I do. Right? It's like it's more natural to you.
Could be. I mean, I know there's some very famous musicians that start with lyrics.
Yeah. I mean,
So, but for me, it's the lyrics almost, at least as far as non-musical theater songs go, the lyrics always come out of me developing the melody first. Like I'll have filler lyrics in there just to kind of have the tune going, but I can those filler lyrics there might be an idea in those filler lyrics that become the main theme of or crux of the lyrics.
And wouldn't you say that is kind of the difference between a song like I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but like a song in musical theater, if it doesn't have a clear, not only just like a point, but a clear arc. Like you start. This is just from observation. You start somewhere with the song.
Mhm.
It's the mind state of the character, whatever it is, and then over the course of the song, there should be some kind of arc where at the end of it, there's some irony revealed, or a new story point, or you're opening the door to some kind of change. And I think that's what makes for the most compelling. That's what makes for the most compelling music, in what I've been observing in.
I mean, I agree with you to an extent, but sometimes there are songs and musicals that are just there for fun, and I'm okay with that too. I mean,
sure,
and they don't necessarily move the plot forward.
No, I'm not saying it has to move the plot. I'm just saying there has to be some kind of tension there between like where it starts. Sure. I mean, and again, this is just like what I've observed from like, yes, there are certain songs that are acceptable. Maybe certain songs that like are iconic in spite of not having that tension that I'm talking about. But I think the ones that are the most satisfying have some kind of tension and change.
When I wrote my musical, there were a couple points where I thought there should be a song here, because there's too long of a gap between songs, or this character needs their own song.
Sure.
So I have to write one for them. And yes, it does seem almost like a contrived thing where you're forced to come up with a song, but you find a way to work it within the story.
Sure.
And it makes sense. I mean, and so I would say there is no one right way to.
No, of course not. But I guess going back to what I was, the reason I even brought that up is that like that I feel like that is the difference between like a given song in an album that you're putting out versus a song for musical theater, which like it has to it at the very least has to reflect a character's mental state.
Sure.
It has to relate to a thing. So
no, definitely.
That's my reason for starting with lyrics, in addition to having a very like limited ability on the keyboard. So
I will argue though, oftentimes, and you'll see this with jukebox musicals, but maybe that's the reason why jukebox musicals seem maybe
that's a grammar corner thing just now that Max did.
What?
He said oftentimes, but why say oftentimes instead of just saying often?
All right, whatever.
Anyway,
it's too late. We're past grammar corner. Oftentimes.
Yeah, double down. I like it.
Maybe jukebox musicals do seem contrived because you are trying to use these songs that were not meant for a narrative, and you're trying to place them in a narrative, and that makes the narrative seem contrived in a way. Maybe that's to support your argument, I guess, Nikon.
I certainly don't think.
God, there is something going on with it or something. I don't know what's going on.
Out of curiosity, did our screens just go away for you?
No,
on
no
StreamYard? Okay,
no. There's been no delay. You guys just like instantly go like, "Oh my god."
Well, I don't know. It must be something with our internet connection right now. But anyway,
maybe
go on.
Yeah. I think it's like with your receiving. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So, but you can. There is
timer. That's good.
What's his name? The famous singer, but he's always been kind of. He's not like been a mainstream guy, but he's in Rumblefish.
Tom Waits.
He has a musical, and I believe all the music was written before the musical, but I don't know. Maybe this isn't a good argument. I don't know. The musical was kind of boring, actually. The music was good though, but it seemed like you can.
He thought the show was kind of boring, is what he said.
Yeah, sure. But the music was pretty good. I don't know. This isn't a good. Let me forget it. I scratched this argument actually. Jersey Boys was good though.
I think you were going somewhere. With it though. Well, whatever. Okay, so Jersey.
Sorry,
well, no. Let's hear about the critical one. So, like.
Well, people do knock the jukebox musicals, right? And
sure.
Because they seem the stories surrounding them seem extra contrived because you're almost forced to write a story around previously.
I just
written
said
songs.
that. I was saying.
I mean, yeah.
I wasn't listening.
Well, you kind of abandon it though. So, well, like
Yeah,
like
you
Mamma Mia
kind
is
of a band.
like
No, because I made my point already about that. I said that supports your argument, Nikon. That was the end of that point.
yeah.
Well,
But I want to hear why didn't Rumblefish work? I lost your audio.
It's a movie
for
I-
Coppola right after The Outsiders.
Oh, okay.
What's that?
I
Oh,
lost
you did
your
lose. You did lose our audio. You did lose something
For a
Okay.
second. For a second.
So Rumblefish is just a movie that Francis.
Oh,
Ford
okay.
Coppola
What was
directed right after The
what was his
Outsiders.
musical?
I was
Black
just trying to
Rider.
remember what actor I was thinking of.
Yeah,
What
the Black Rider.
Who's also a singer, the famous singer-songwriter.
Sure.
What are you looking at? What's he looking
The
at?
musical that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Oh, Strange Loop.
No,
Oh, what are you
no,
talking
what is
about?
Strange Loop? What is
I don't know what
The Black.
No,
the Tom Waits musical.
musical.
Not the Black, not the Black musical.
It's I thought that's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
I think it's
Is it not the Black Rider?
It's
Wojciech?
Wojciech.
That's
right?
not it.
Wojciech.
That's not it.
No, I think he did a musical version of that.
Oh, you're right about that, Nikki. You're right. Actually, he did.
Well,
Anyway,
Anyway,
I just
but you know, there's that that Beatles musical that came out a few years ago, the movie one.
oh
Across
god,
the,
yeah,
Across the Universe,
Across the Universe,
and
yeah.
that felt the story around it seemed extra contrived because
It did.
and it was bad because you were
That was
like,
very confusing for me
so
because
forced.
it was yeah, like it felt it was very forced, but there was something that was also nice about seeing all these interpretations of Beatles songs, and it was shot so beautifully that like I was tricked into liking it. But like I agree, it was everything felt very shoehorned.
well,
Right.
here's okay. This is actually a topic to actually talk about why a lot of modern musical theater I don't like.
Uh-huh.
With that movie, you have these musical theater singers singing Beatles tunes, and it takes you're like adding this aesthetic of musical theater singing to
Right.
Beatles tunes, and
Totally.
that
Yeah.
it makes it sound cringy. Actually, I'm sorry to
did.
say,
No, you're right. It did.
and
There's
that's
that.
why that is something. It's like things that don't mesh well. That's why I don't like a lot of modern musical theaters, because it's this pop music that adds this musical theater type of aesthetic to it that doesn't. It's just when things don't mix well, and it adds this cringiness to it. That's just,
Yeah.
I can't describe it better than that. I guess,
Right.
you know.
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
the
no,
perfect
that's good.
description.
That was great. That was good. That was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can see why somebody, if they were just exposed to more of these modern musicals, why they would say they don't like it. But as we were pointing out, I think you owe the genre just at least a delve into those classic musicals that sort of define the genre.
I agree. I agree. I think people are missing out when they just write off the entire medium.
Sure, but I was arguing Nikki before this actually about musical theater, and he was saying, I understand what you're saying, Nikon, that somebody may just not be into that aesthetic of.
Yeah.
There is a certain, as I said, there is a certain type of sound and quality to musical theater, and they just may not be into that kind of a thing, you know?
Yeah.
Or even just music being sung to express your emotion or helping to drive the plot forward or whatever it might be. They just might not be into that kind of a thing, you know? So
Yeah.
all I'm saying is give it a fair shot. You know, don't just knock it completely right away based on like it goes back to that whole thing where I've come across a couple people that said they don't like the Beatles, and I'm like, well, why not? And one girl said, because all their music sounds the same. And I'm like, okay, you're clearly ignorant about this topic.
Yeah.
Or else you wouldn't say all their music sounds the same. If
Yeah.
one band you couldn't say that about, it would be the Beatles, right?
Right.
And so when the same approach, if somebody says they don't
you
like
can't
music,
say that about the Rolling Stones.
About what?
I'm just coming back to the knocking the Rolling Stones.
if somebody says, oh, I just think all musicals are cheesy, I would say, well, why don't you try different types of musicals and maybe certain ones would work for you, and it just depends on the kind of musical,
Yeah,
So,
totally.
I mean, I would say that for us, in general, we like more classic type of musicals than
Yeah.
more of the modern ones. I mean, in general.
Well, it depends on how you define modern, because don't a lot of people like define Sondheim as being like the
yes.
like the
more
archetype.
modern.
That's
You're right,
that's true. That's true.
Contemporary musical.
Yeah,
I guess is what he means.
Yeah.
Definitely,
You're right. And Sondheim has had a huge influence in a good way on
Sure, yeah.
musical theater. So
One other point I want to make about contemporary musical theater
Yeah.
is that not always, but
Yeah.
oftentimes, the songs that are made for them, they're bad versions of pop songs. So like, it's like they were
Totally.
given a template on how to write a pop
Totally.
song.
It's like the worst of both worlds.
Yeah,
Right.
They were given the template on how to write a pop song, and they just using the template, and they didn't know. They don't know how to write a song. Like, it's just bad,
Right.
they don't know how to write something unique, even in that genre.
No, it's not even. It's not about uniqueness either. It's just, I guess, templated. Yeah, it's almost extra cringy.
They use.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
They take the bad parts of that genre and use those to the extreme in a way. Or
Right.
Yeah,
right.
and it's not unique. Yes, both.
And on top, yeah. What about musicals like what's the South Park guys one?
The Book of Mormon.
Book of Mormon.
Look,
Contemporary.
I know Max doesn't like.
I think it does a good
us
job of
knock- I-
drawing. I think it does a good job of drawing these audiences that you're talking about, like who would typically not like a musical.
I haven't seen it.
I know
but
Max doesn't like me knocking other things, but I actually really didn't. I really didn't like the Book of Mormon. I mean, I thought it was really cheesy. I thought the humor in it seemed like watered down South Park humor for the middle of America. That's what it seemed like to me.
But what about?
And the music in it, I thought was really cheesy. I didn't think it was good.
But what about its ability to draw in an otherwise disinterested audience?
Yeah, that's. But but the thing, I mean, I guess it accomplishes something there, but it's kind of like a magic trick almost. You're like drawing them into a false
representation of
the genre in a way.
Right.
You know,
that's an interesting point you hit on.
think. I know some people like that. I know a lot of people like that musical. I don't know. It's not my alley.
But that's an interesting point you hit on, Nikon, is they were drawing people in that normally wouldn't watch musical theater, and yet the very things that we're talking about why people wouldn't like musical theater, that musical does actually.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I think it does because it has edge, and so people appreciate the edge of it.
It has edge,
right?
I think I mean, it's not really edgy to beat up on Mormons, I guess, but
and don't get me wrong, there were a couple times that I laughed when I watched it, but
well, here's the well, going back to what you said about Max not liking. I don't. What's the problem with like criticizing art? Like, isn't that a
he thinks
important
that
part of being an artist?
No,
he thinks that as artists we shouldn't be criticizing.
No, I think that's part of the point. I think I get what you're saying about like criticizing other comics, because it's like, hey, everybody's trying to fucking make it in this crazy world, but like with art, like you're supposed, like it has to be a conversation. Like you have to reflect on what works and what doesn't work in a piece of art, so you can push the conversation forward.
Well, he would argue that if
I might
Matt
want to
Stone
work
and Trey Parker,
Matt Stone, Trey Parker, I'm not saying any of this.
It might prevent them.
Matt Stone and Trey Parker
in something
don't want to cast an ass kisser on what they're working on. If you have opinions on something, if it's a
true.
valid opinion, if you're like, hey, look, this
True.
like, yes, I get what they were doing here, blah blah blah. This is what didn't work for me. I don't, unless they have like baby thin skin, then they should be able to.
What's
actually
Still
like
hire you
Hannibal
for
the
something.
musical more than
I will say
Oh,
that
really?
is one thing that is surprising, that they didn't do the music, I believe, to this musical.
I don't think they did. You're right.
they wrote the lyrics, but didn't
Right,
write the-
Robert Lopez, who did Avenue Q, did.
Right.
And I just think to
Well,
myself,
he
why?
also did
I know,
Frozen. You know?
but why didn't they write the music? They were more than capable of doing it themselves. You know,
Do you know that? I mean, maybe they're
they wrote
write
Cannibal
music.
the musical,
right? But was that
and the music is pretty good in that?
Is
actually.
it? I don't really remember. Yeah, I don't know.
The theme at the end of South Park every episode is bum 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 bum. That's from Cannibal the musical, actually.
Sure. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they just wanted. They weren't interested in that part of it. That's possible too.
Maybe they also are probably really busy guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You think we should wrap things up?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I think. Yeah.
Did we touch up on everything? I
think so. I think we talked about a lot of the
here.
criticisms. I think. Yeah. I think we covered.
We talked about reasons for liking it.
Yeah.
I guess all in all, just give it a chance.
Give it a chance,
give it
man.
a fair shot.
Oh, can I say one thing about the Book of Mormon that Nikki did say after watching it? He said,
Yeah.
Look, even though I didn't like it, I was still astounded with the production of it all, and it was a spectacle to behold. And so I still got
all
enjoyment of watching it in any event.
Right.
You know?
The choreography was really good in it. You know, there was good dancing.
And there's something to be appreciated about all the work that goes into creating a musical theater piece. You know.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, look, nothing on Broadway.
Well, Frozen, because you mentioned Robert Lopez.
Nothing on Broadway. Anything that makes it to Broadway has some redeeming qualities.
Right. There's
Yeah.
something to be appreciated even when there are things that you don't like about it. Even like a movie, even with this Barbie movie, I got to appreciate all that the work was put into the production design.
Right. I mean, and I still got some enjoyment out of it.
I still got some enjoyment out of it. I laughed a couple times, especially at the Will Ferrell parts. There's something about Will Ferrell. I used to not think this about him, but whenever he's in something, I just know I'm going to laugh at least a little bit. Like there's something funny about him. I don't know,
Yeah, he used to really bug me, and now I'm just
Hot
like,
take.
all right, get it.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the thing is I never appreciated him as much before, but I do now. Actually,
all right, yeah.
Something about. Anyway, that's a topic for another time.
Hot take. Will Ferrell can be funny at times.
But thank you all for tuning in to another edition of Splitting Hairs with Max, Nikki, and Econ.
Please keep tuning in.
And safe travels, guys.
Thank you.
Or I guess I can say
and
that
rate
once
and
we stop
review.
recording.
Oh yeah, that's something I was gonna. Well, this doesn't have to be in the episode, but that's something that I wanted to mention was I think we're gonna do like a listening party for the EP.
Nice.
Somebody had suggested we do a live listening party in New York, but then live stream that so people. But
it's on Tuesday, right?
Enjoy the listening party. I don't know. What do you think about that?
We lost the Zoom. That sounds great. That sounds fun. But you guys are going to be gone, aren't you? Or just like when you get back?
When we get back.
Okay.
I was thinking we could just do a live streamed listening party, but I think it might be more fun to do it live.
Yeah.
And then we'll live stream that thing,
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great idea. Count me in.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yes, we got Nikon on board.
Gemma, we have not seen. I haven't seen Come From Away.
I haven't seen Come From Away, yeah.
But yeah, I know it's one of. I think it won the Pulitzer actually, right? Pulitzer. Some people pronounce it.
I think it's Pulitzer though, right?
Oh God, you just reminded me of something from past lives, and God, it is so good. I mean, God, I'm just thinking about.
All right, Nikki.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't overhype it. Now you're gonna not think it's as good.
No. Other people have hyped it just as much, so I'm definitely gonna watch it.
So, yeah. Anyway, good stuff.
I'm gonna end the live.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in.
And I'm gonna lose you guys, so because we lost the Zoom, so.
No, but we'll still be able to. I'm just ending the broadcast.
Gotcha. Okay.
So long, guys. Tune in soon.
Oh, whoops! I gotta end.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.